Part C. Directions. In this part of the test, you will hear several short talks. After each talk, you will hear some questions. The talks and the questions will not be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in your test book and choose the best answer. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Here is an example. On the recording, you hear, "Listen to a professor talk to his class about a television program."
I'd like to tell you about an interesting TV program that'll be shown this coming Thursday. It'll be on from 9 to 10 p.m. on Channel 4. It's part of a series called Mysteries of Human Biology. The subject of the program is the human brain, how it functions and how it can malfunction. Topics that will be covered are dreams, memory, and depression. These topics are illustrated with outstanding computer animation that makes the explanations easy to follow. Make an effort to see this show. Since we've been studying the nervous system in class, I know you'll find it very helpful.
Now listen to a sample question. What is the main purpose of the program? In your test book you read, A. To demonstrate the latest use of computer graphics. B. To discuss the possibility of an economic depression. C. To explain the workings of the brain. D. To dramatize a famous mystery story. The best answer to the question, "What is the main purpose of the program?" is C. To explain the workings of the brain. Therefore, the correct choice is C. Now listen to another sample question. Why does the professor recommend watching the program? In your test book you read, A. It is required of all science majors. B. It will feature the professor's research. C. It can help viewers improve their memory skills. D. It will help with coursework. The best answer to the question, "Why does the professor recommend watching the program?" is D. It will help with coursework. Therefore, the correct choice is D. Go on to the next page. Now, we will begin Part C with the first talk. Questions 40 through 43. Listen to part of a lecture in a physiology class.
Astronauts exposed to the microgravity environment of space lose a significant amount of bone mass, about 11% of hip bone mass on average, after several months in space. One study found that astronauts in the space station lose as much bone density in a single month as a woman in her 70s loses over the course of a year. And after returning to Earth, it can take well over a year for astronauts to regain normal bone structure and density. When bones become weakened like this, more porous, the risk for fractures increases, which is a big concern for lengthy space missions like traveling to Mars and back. So, we're experimenting with ways of keeping astronauts' bones strong. On Earth, bone strength is normally maintained because old bone cells are constantly being broken down and replaced by new cells. The mechanical force of working against gravity is translated by our bodies into biochemical signals, and it's these signals that stimulate the process of bone renewal. But in space, bone renewal slows down because weightlessness adversely affects the process. The body has trouble processing minerals like calcium and phosphorus that are important to bone health. Microgravity reduces the levels of hormones involved in maintaining bone strength as well. To counteract these effects and hopefully prevent bones from weakening, astronauts exercise on equipment that mimics the conditions of gravity on Earth, like a weightlifting machine or a stationary bicycle. Of course, these exercise machines include special straps to prevent the astronauts from floating off.
Number 40. According to the professor, what problem do astronauts have after spending a month in space? Number 41. Why does the professor mention Mars? Number 42. According to the professor, what is one way that microgravity affects bones? Number 43. What point does the professor emphasize about exercise equipment designed for astronauts? Questions 44 through 46. Listen to part of a lecture in an environmental science class.
One consequence of air pollution is acid precipitation. Acid precipitation, rain, snow, fog, occurs when water vapor combines with certain pollutants in the atmosphere. This reaction forms an acid, like sulfuric acid. Acid precipitation is a well-known environmental threat to ecosystems like lakes and forests, but it also damages historic buildings and monuments. It's normal for these structures to undergo some deterioration over time from, say, wind erosion, but acid precipitation tends to speed up normal weathering processes. Structures made from limestone and marble are especially at risk because they contain calcite. Acid dissolves calcite. Eventually, smooth surfaces get roughened. Carved decorations lose their details, and corners that used to be sharp become rounded. Granite, however, resists acid, not because it's so hard, but because granite contains a lot of silica, and silica doesn't react with acid. But with limestone and marble structures, even areas that are sheltered from precipitation are at risk, because wherever there's acid precipitation, there's also acidic gas in the air. When sulfuric acid gas reacts with calcite and water in the air, a mineral crust forms. Dirt collects on this crust, turning it black, and when the blackened crust flakes off, it exposes crumbling stone underneath. Scientists are working on ways to reduce the pollutants that cause acid precipitation to form in the first place. They're also trying to figure out how to protect important stone structures.
Number 44. What is the main purpose of the lecture? Number 45. What point does the professor make about calcite? Number 46. What might cause a crust to form on stone surfaces? Questions 47 through 50. Listen to part of a lecture in a business class.
Anthropologists don't just sit at their desks analyzing data. They go into the field and observe people in their everyday settings. This same approach is now being used in the business world to identify problems and figure out how to better meet the needs of customers. Let's say your company makes toothpaste and you're deciding on a new flavor. So you recruit a group of consumers, a focus group, and ask them to try a few flavors and give feedback. But businesses have been learning a hard lesson. Words don't always reflect reality. Members of focus groups might say they love fruit-flavored toothpaste just to be nice, then never buy it. So companies are turning to direct observations of how consumers behave at work, home, while shopping, driving. At a company that markets liquid soap for babies, parents were observed struggling to open the soap bottle while giving their baby a bath. The bottle was then redesigned so parents could open it with one hand while supporting the baby with the other. Another form of anthropological fieldwork is called participant observation. In one company, managers spent time working alongside rank-and-file employees, doing the same tasks. In another company, one that sells office supplies, everyone, even senior executives, spends their first week working on a retail floor. helping shoppers find things, ringing up sales, putting merchandise on display. In both of these examples, you can identify inefficiencies you might not learn about otherwise.
Number 47. What is the talk mainly about? Number 48. What weakness of focus groups does the professor discuss? Number 49. What did the company that markets baby soap discover? Number 50. What does the office supply company require its newly hired executives to do? This is the end of Section 1, Listening Comprehension. Stop work on Section 1. This is a reminder. At the end of the test, the supervisor will collect all of the test books. You may not leave until all of the test books have been collected. End of recording.